All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. We have a great story that we're going to be talking about today. So, as you all know, for the last 18 months, our state and the world has been grappling with the coronavirus pandemic. And here in Nebraska, we have seen people step up all across our state to take care of each other, whether it's communities, patronizing local companies, whether it's employers making adjustments for people in their companies to be able to work from home. It's parents and schools working together to get kids back in classrooms, our ag producers producing the food that feeds the world. Nebraskans have come together through this coronavirus pandemic. And of course, when we're talking about this, I certainly want to take the opportunity to remind people that it's always a great idea to get vaccinated. And here in Nebraska, vaccinations, are our primary tool to be able to fight this pandemic. And in Nebraska, we've done a very good job, specifically around getting people who are 65 years and older vaccinated. We're up over 88% of that category people have gotten vaccinated. And that's important because that's where the majority of our fatalities come from, is people who are in that category 65 years and older. So we've done well here in Nebraska. I think we're ranked number 15th overall. And then with regard to just, again, preserving our hospital capacity, trying to balance that out with letting people live back to a more normal life, we've seen that we're tied, I think, with Vermont to be the third lowest state for mortality rates among people who have gotten coronavirus, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. We're the sixth best state for kids in classrooms. And we also have had the lowest unemployment rate. In fact, we had the lowest unemployment rate last year in 2020 at 4.2%. And this year, we've got a record low, not only for the nation at 2.2%, but a record low for our state. We've never had it that low. And if you look at the top metro areas, 380 some metro areas, we've got three cities that are in the top category of that. Lincoln's number one at 1.7% unemployment rate, Grand Island number two at 1.9%, and Omaha number 6 at 2.2%. So all of this creates an environment where Nebraska is the second best place to find a job, according to Wallet Hub, which is great news for folks. And what we're here today is to talk about our SNAP Next Step program, which helps people who are seeking that food assistance from the state, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP, or sometimes known as food stamps, to be able to help them get that next best job. This is a great program we've had around since 2016, and it leverages the job coaches we have in our Department of Labor with the folks in Children and Family Services to be able to offer those services to our families who are taking advantage and utilizing SNAP. So today I have with me Stephanie Beasley, who is our Director for Children and Family Services in the Department of Health and Human Services, and also April Clausen, who works in our Department of Labor in the WIOA area, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity area. But she also was someone who had been on the SNAP program and had utilized our SNAP Next Step to be able to help get that next best job. I'm going to let her talk more about that. But we have seen a number of success stories with our SNAP Next Step program. As I mentioned, it's been around since 2016, and we've been able to help about 40% of the families who've applied to that program get that next better job. For example, we've had an unemployed dad who had 2 kids at home with one on the way, and he was able to leverage the program to be able to get his CDL and then get a job as a truck driver making $4,600 a month. We had another individual who was interested in becoming an EMT and was able to do that and get a job as an EMT and reduce their reliance on the SNAP program. We had one individual who was a felon who had just gotten out of prison and leveraged the program to be able to find an employer who would pick that person up at $16 an hour for 40 hours a week. Again, great success story there. One single mom was working nights and weekends, was able to leverage it to get a job where she could work 8 to 5 so she could be at home at night with her kids. So it's also about improving quality of life. Another single mom was making $900 a month, doing with no benefits, again, working nights and weekends in restaurants and so forth. We were able to get her into a job making $2,700 a month. So again, a lot of great success stories for how we've helped these families. And in fact, if you look at overall, the average income has gone up for families who we've been able to help by over $1,900 a month or $22,800 a year. So this is truly a life-changing program when you look at what our SNAP Next Step has done. So it's something that we're terribly excited about because we've been able to help these families be able to get that next best job. Nebraska's got a great environment to do that. We've got 50,000 job openings here at the state of Nebraska that are on our Nebraska Workforce website. So lots of opportunities here, and we're excited to be able to continue to offer this program to our families who are on SNAP and get them on SNAP Next Step. So with that, I'm going to call up Stephanie, who's going to say a few words, and then we're going to bring up April and talk about her experience. With that, Stephanie?
Thank you, Governor, and thanks for the opportunity to celebrate this really meaningful program. So SNAP Next Step is an important tool. It assists low-income Nebraskans in getting job skills, as the Governor outlined, in raising their income and finding job security. So as he also stated, it's a partnership between DHHS, Department of Labor, and we have other organizations that are partners like the Urban League of Nebraska. The purpose is to support both underemployed and unemployed Nebraskans receiving SNAP to get that job that provides a livable wage. Our team and partners assist motivated individuals improving their skills and achieving the ultimate goal of self-sufficient employment based on their individual needs and desires. We continue to expand SNAP Next Step, enrolling more participants and acquiring new partner organizations to provide even more skills training. In fact, we have 2 partners aligned that we hope to have on board by the end of the year. Our SNAP Next Step program has come a long way since the inception in July of 2016. We started with 1 community in Grand Island, and now we serve more than 28 counties. We have that continued partnership between Department of Labor with just 5 participants on our first rollout in 2016, and now we have successfully served over 200 Nebraskans. As we continue, we have recently expanded more services into the Omaha area. To qualify for this program, participants must be currently receiving SNAP, but not enrolled in Aid for Dependent Children or the Employment First program, must be work eligible in Nebraska, and then reside in one of the 28 counties where this program is available. Once enrolled, any participant would have the benefit of working with the workforce coordinator from DHHS or a partner agency serving on behalf of our agencies. To learn more about eligibility, I would encourage anyone who is interested to go to dhhs.ne.gov to learn more about this program. I want to join the Governor in talking about some successes for the program, and then I'll have the opportunity to introduce April, and she's going to talk about the meaningful impact that this program made for her. But we'll start with, we had a 21-year-old female who was enrolled with SNAP Next Step in March of 21. Her ultimate goal was to work in the medical community. She started with us going to school and working an average of 13 hours a week. We were able to assist in transportation and helped her purchase her textbooks for class. She is now employed full-time, working 40 hours a week at an agency that offers health benefits. She plans to continue her education while working to pursue her RN license and is no longer reliant on SNAP. She loves her new career and the potential growth within her current company. Another success is reflected when a gentleman was referred to us to SNAP Next Step by someone who had formerly participated in the program. He faced several barriers, such as no driver's license, no vehicle, and a criminal record. He participated in our program, able to overcome these barriers, utilizing the support. He got a copy of his birth certificate, a driver's license, cell phone minutes so he could contact employers for a potential job. And ultimately, he found employment working 40 hours a week, and he has health insurance. He is no longer receiving SNAP and is completely self-reliant. These successes reflect our commitment to those we serve, as well as to the dedication of Nebraskans participating in the program to seek to change their future through employment. So I have the pleasure of introducing April, who is employed with the Department of Labor and has been a former participant, and I think tells this story very well about the meaningful impact of this program. So April, you want to come on up?
Thank you for Director Beasley and Governor Ricketts for having me. In 2012, I went from a stay-at-home mom of 8 years to a single mom of an 8 and a 12-year-old. I'd always wanted to return to school and kept saying that I would do it and graduate before my son graduated from high school. My kids and I lived on $700 a month. We received electricity assistance once a year, Section 8 housing, and SNAP. Putting gas in my car at the time was troublesome. With only $700 to last a month, no money would go wasted or blown. There was no extras for the store, there were no vacations, no eating out. For 4 years, I put in application after application after application, over 1,100 applications, and still couldn't get a job. I was either overqualified or underqualified. All the while, I kept saying, I wish I would have gone back to school, thinking at that point it was a pipe dream to absolutely go back to school. In 2016, I finally landed a job working in a convenience store. The desire to return to school was still with me, and the time for my son to graduate was looming closer. My daughter had graduated high school and was attending UNK on a full-ride scholarship. I still wanted to go back to school. In November of 2018, my boss told me I should check out taking some classes to utilize my knowledge of math and accounting. About the same time, I received a flyer from the NDOL about a program called WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. I thought, what do I have to lose? I made an appointment to go talk to them. I met with Ashley, the coordinator, Sue, my WIOA counselor, and Autumn, my SNAP advisor. They explained that by getting into the program, they would help me get my books, help me fill out my FAFSA, and get me on track to go to school. In turn, I would have to check in once a week with my SNAP rep and once a month with my WIOA counselor with my grades. They explained the whole program in detail and explained that this was part of the Next Step program. This was my next step. They set my path, they pushed me. This was exactly what I needed to go back to school. The accountability and support they offered was phenomenal. In January of 2019, I was newly enrolled student at Mid-Plains Community College in North Platte as a freshman to earn my degree at 43 years old. I was a non-traditional student. I still had bills, a child, and a job, taking anywhere between 16 to 18 credit hours, one semester even 21 credit hours during the pandemic. I took summer classes. I was bound and determined to graduate. My professors at Mid-Plains Community College were amazing. They were my mentors, my cheerleaders, and my worst critics, all wrapped up into one. They listened to me whine and literally cry because I wanted to give up. My advisor there, thankfully, had an open door, and I used that to keep going as well. 3 of my 4 semesters, I made the dean's list. I also had an amazing support network of family and friends that were my shoulder when I needed to cry, my legs when I couldn't take another step, and a boot when I needed a kick to keep going. My last semester consisted of doing an internship. Again, I was faced with that dreadful path of putting in applications, looking for someone to take a chance on me. I applied everywhere. One of the jobs I applied for was a position at one of the state departments in Lincoln, and they called. They wanted to interview me. With very little money, I reached out to my WIOA coordinator, and they helped me with gas to get back and forth for interviews. I drove 3 hours for a 15-minute interview. A week later, I got the call that I had been offered the job. To say that I was elated would be an understatement. The day came in May. I walked across that stage and accepted my diploma in front of my grown kids, a huge accomplishment to be able to show my kids, no matter how old, it is never too late to go back to school. I received my associates in business administration with an emphasis in accounting. I graduated from college 2 days before my son graduated from high school. This program was and is well worth the time and energy. The coordinators and advisors in the program are amazing and take great pride in their jobs. This program, which is part of the Next Step program, is highly underrated and underutilized and needs to have more awareness to keep it alive. This is a program that many people should be taking part in. I continue to work for the state of Nebraska, assisting customers in different programs. I refer the WIOA program often to my customers. It is a step-up program, not just this Next Step program. With my background and experience with the SNAP Next Step, I can identify with the customers and have compassion for what they are going through. I know firsthand the state programs can help people live better lives, and this gives me a valuable perspective. I am so grateful I had the opportunity to participate in this program. I am now self-sufficient and living in Lincoln and working in a job that is just the beginning of my career. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, April. Great story. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's awesome. So congratulations for all your hard work and how it's paid off. That is totally cool. So April is just one example of how our SNAP Next Step program can help people realize their potential, get that education, get that next best job. It really is exciting. And as Stephanie was saying, we've been able to help out 208 families out of the, I think, 512 that have applied this year. That's since 2016, and this year it's been 39 families, since, I should say, this fiscal year, which starts July 1st, it's been 39 families out of the 75 that have applied. So great work, Stephanie and April, and all the people in the Department of Labor. They've been doing a wonderful job here. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions and answers. And we'll start with SNAP Next Step, and when we're done with that one, we'll move on to other topics. Yeah, Martha.
My question is, you said that 40% of the people who applied for the program were able to get some help. What's the barriers for the rest of them?
I'm actually going to let maybe Stephanie answer that, but when I say 40%, what I'm talking about is 40% we've been able to help get that next better job. Everyone was offered help, but the question is, were they able to get that job that helped them increase their income? And so, Stephanie, I'll ask you to.
Yeah, so that really is the answer.
Yeah.
Everyone is offered assistance. It's who we're seeing the best outcomes from and who is able to take that step up, I think, as April defined it.
Why were the others not able to do that?
You know, I don't know the specific details of what barriers would present for each of our families. I really don't have that information at this time, but we could get that for you, Martha. Yeah, we could certainly get that for you.
This is sort of related, can you talk about sort of the difficulty of, obviously employers are screaming for workers right now. State, as you mentioned, has the lowest unemployment rate. Can you talk about how do programs like these make a dent in terms of trying to fill those needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's not going to be one single silver bullet that helps address our labor needs here in the state. As Grant was pointing out, that we've got a number of employers who are trying to hire. You see the help wanted signs all over the state. So we've got a number of ways that we're addressing that. Obviously, this SNAP Next Step is one of those ways where we can help those families who are on the SNAP program be able to take that next better job by getting the education. As in April's case, you talked about the EMT person, same sort of deal, getting the proper education to be able to get that job. We also have a number of other things that go along with that as well. Our Developing Youth Talent Initiative is a program that starts with young people in 7th and 8th grade. We've got our career academies that oftentimes you can get that post-secondary education credit. We've got a registered apprenticeship program, which we've increased 15% year over year. We also, kind of the sidecar to that is the youth registered apprenticeship program for folks in high school. Then we've also got apprenticeship programs like the ICAP program, the German companies like Graypol and Klaus are doing. That's the Industry Consortium for Advanced Technical Training. And then, of course, we passed our Career Scholarship Program last year, which this year we expanded to private institutions that help make that education affordable. So we've got a number of things we're doing to try and develop the talent here in our state to be able to get people that education so they can take those jobs. And SNAP Next Step is one of the ways that we're helping do that. Yeah, Martha.
And so where does the funding for this program come from and how much does it take?
So the funding from the, for the department, or comes through the U.S. Department of Labor for the job coaches, which we offer already to the folks who are on unemployment. So you may recall that if you're on unemployment, or actually you don't even have to be on unemployment, you can just, anybody can use this. Come and use our job coaches in the Department of Labor to be able to help get advice doing a resume or how to do job interviews, those kind of job looking for job skills, to be able to do that. As far as how much the program costs, I don't have that number off the top of the head. Do you have it, Stephanie? We'll have to get back to you on that one, Martha. But again, part of what we're doing is really leveraging what's already there for these job coaches. We get a grant from the federal government for these job coaches as part of our reemployment program, and we're really leveraging that infrastructure to be able to offer them to our families on SNAP.
Martha sort of touched on this, but I guess I'm curious as to what is it specifically that people need? If you're someone who you're gonna benefit from this program, I mean, why do you need the program? Why can't, what is preventing people from going out and just applying for the job themselves, going to school? I mean, can you talk about how the program facilitates?
Yeah, sure. So again, when we have these job coaches, a lot of times what they're doing is helping with that resume writing or how do you go look for the job. But as April was talking about, by able to get some of these dollars to be able to help with, as she mentioned, just paying for gas to be able to go to the interview was one example, or paying for the education. I don't know, April, would you want to come up and just say a few words about how, what specifically helped you in this department, in this program?
The Next Step program helped me get my books, which at some semesters was $1,200 to $1,500. If I couldn't afford to drive back and forth for gas, they helped with that. They helped me with my resume. The constant, some people may think that it's a bad thing, but checking in and having that accountability, it helps push you. You have to have the drive. This is something that you have to work at it. It's not something that's just going to be given to you. So they have to want that drive. Like I said, I put in over 1,100 job applications and couldn't get a job. Something had to change in order for me to be educated enough to get that job, to get that opportunity to move up in my career.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, April, when you're talking about 21 hours while taking care of a family, that is driven. During the pandemic, that is driven.
This program's voluntary, right?
It's absolutely voluntary. That's correct. The program is absolutely voluntary. All right, any other questions on SNAP Next Step? All right, thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate it. Great job, April. All right, other topics. Yeah, Martha.
Well, Governor, tell us about this idea of a special session for a vaccine mandate, or to prohibit vaccine mandates.
So the question was about a special session to do a vaccine, or to prohibit vaccine mandates. As you all know, we started off this press conference talking about encouraging people to get the vaccine. I certainly believe that that is the number one best tool we have to be able to fight this pandemic, but it absolutely should be a voluntary decision based on people. So I am opposed to vaccine mandates. And the question was, if, would we call a special session to do a vaccine mandate? If there were 33 senators who wanted to do a special session to do a special session to ban vaccine mandates, I would call that special session.
Are you searching for senators? I mean, are you trying to get special session up and running, or is this something, if someone comes to you, you'd be willing to then go ahead?
I don't believe that the question was, is this something that I'm searching out to do, or is this something somebody else has suggested? I don't believe we have the votes to be able to pass something in a special session, so I'm not willing to call a special session until I know that there's 33 senators who actually want to take action on this. Don.
Governor, how would you like to spend $1 billion in federal pandemic?
So the question, so what Don asked was, how would I like to spend $1 billion in billion federal dollars this Christmas? So right now, the state of Nebraska has $520 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA dollars. We may get another $520 million next year, but that is still up in the air because the Treasury said it's going to be based upon need. And so we'll have to wait and see if they determine what their criteria for need is. You look at Nebraska right now, again, we've got the lowest unemployment rate. Our state revenues at the end of the fiscal year came in 20% over forecast. Nebraska is doing very well. So with regard to how do I want to spend the money, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to propose, but what I will tell you is what the process is going to be. So we're going to treat this like any other budget bill, that we're going to do our work this fall to come up with a budget recommendation, which we will submit to the Appropriations Committee in January. The Appropriations Committee will take that recommendation, they will do their own review process, and then they will come back with a recommendation they will present to the legislature in the form of a bill, and that bill will be debated, amended, voted up or down, just like any other budget bill would be debated and voted on. And then ultimately, that will come to my desk, and I'll have the opportunity at that point to either sign or, veto or line item veto, just like a normal process. So we're going to treat this just like a normal process. It's the appropriate process, given that our founders designed a system where the legislature would have the purse strings. I think that's appropriate. So that's the process we're going to follow, and that's the process I committed to with the speaker earlier this year.
You will not introduce a bill of your own.
We will be making a recommendation to the Appropriations Committee. So we'll be making a recommendation, but then ultimately the budget bill will be the Appropriation Committee taking that recommendation and taking it to the legislature.
Governor,
Yeah.
At this time, the Judiciary Committee is taking testimony about the staffing crisis at the Department of Corrections. And I know there's been some negotiations going on with the union, but are there some other kinds of steps that you're looking at to alleviate these problems?
So Martha's question with regard to, we're competing against the workforce just like everybody else, and we're short of people, specifically the Department of Corrections, but it's not just the Department of Corrections. It's really something we're experiencing across all of our agencies. We see our vacancy rates go up, and so one of the things we've done at the state is we've come to an agreement in principle with NAPE, one of our unions here at the state, to basically give people covered under that agreement a 15% increase in their wages so that we can be competitive and attractive and attracting and retaining talent here in the state. And I would note that folks in NAPE also include people who are in our Department of Corrections. Now, we have also made a similar offer to folks in the FOP, Fraternal Order Police. That's the union that's representing our correctional officers. And in that agreement, or that proposal we've made to them, it's worth about $15 or $16 million. It includes a 30% increase for corporals, which is the entry-level officer there. And so the next step is for them to, really, we could get this done tomorrow if they would just accept the offer we put on the table.
And what are the hurdles to getting this?
And so the question was, what are the hurdles getting this? You'd have to ask the FOP. We think we've made a very generous offer. Obviously, NAPE felt that way when they accepted our offer, and so you'd have to ask the FOP whether or not saying yes. Other questions? All right, seeing none. Again, folks, thank you all very much for joining us here this afternoon. I can't tell you how excited I am about the opportunities we have in our SNAP Next Step program. As you can see, we've got great teammates who are working to help our fellow Nebraskans be able to get that next better job. And like you see with April, somebody who is just willing to put the work in and be dedicated can really get a next start on their career. And so it's just really one of those great programs we got at the state that is hugely successful. So thank you all again, and have a great afternoon. And thank you, Sharon.